What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Formula America podcast. We're your hosts, Kurt and Dylan, and we've got some Formula One driver news to talk about, and some news came out last week about the Andretti F1 team and Mohammed bin Sulayem coming out and making some statements on that. But first, man, woke up this morning and Esteban Ocon not getting renewed for next year. They have decided to part ways. You don't say. Man, I gotta say, I'm not that surprised.
No, not at all. And then F1 did a really good article on it for some behind the scenes. After reading this, I'm even less surprised. But the F1 is also talking about how sought after he is and how they have no doubt he's going to be in a car next year. And it's just a matter of where. And it's like, who is that seeking a mediocre driver like Ocon?
I bet a French person wrote that article.
What's the name? Lawrence Barretto wrote it.
Oh, Lawrence Barretto. Wow. I don't agree with that. I think that Esteban Ocon, he's got experience. He's a decent driver.
He's got to win, but it's not on merit.
Right. And I think he's got a kind of a bad reputation in the Formula One community. He's a hothead. He's always had issues with his teammates and clashes. And I mean, we'll get into that. I was looking up some of his most notable incidents that he's had. He's not a good team player. I don't know if he's the one that you want on your team. But I do think there are a couple teams that are probably interested in having him come over. One specifically that we'll get into, but
yeah,
I don't know if he's a hot commodity.
No, this makes it sound like he is, and I just don't agree with it. But the big thing that I thought was interesting, that is pretty telling, is that Famine apparently right before the Monaco qualifying said that this weekend is going to be a team game. Whoever is the lead driver, the driver behind them needs to support and make sure that we maximize. The team needs points. So whoever gets out qualified, your job is to support the driver in front of you, period. And
I don't
apparently
know
he reiterated that on Sunday. And then lap one,
yeah,
Ocon tries to pass the lead guy and retires his own damn car. It's
like
no wonder Famine
was present?
So pissed. Like
he was. And one thing, so originally we had planned we were going to talk about the news that, for some reason was spreading around that there was potential that he would be dropped for just the Canadian Grand Prix, which to me didn't really make sense.
I never bought into. Makes
no
sense.
I tried looking it up, and apparently there was no hardcore evidence that anybody within the team ever said that. I think one news outlet came out with it, and it just kind of spread for some reason.
Well, and
the whole
thing
quoted
Famine saying that there's going to be consequences for what he did. Like that,
right.
I saw the original article about it and opened it, and it was like, he's going to get sat out in Canada because Famine said there's going to be consequences. And it's like, how did you draw that line?
Right, yeah, like that doesn't make sense. Now, this makes a lot more sense,
yes.
The news that we just got today that he's not going to be re-signed for next year. Yeah, but that other one just didn't make sense. But man, imagine Pierre Gasly comes into your team. They already weren't friends.
No.
Come into the team, they get forced
they were
to
childhood
kind of play
friends.
Nice. They were, and then racing got in the way.
Yeah.
And so, they were kind of forced to play nice, and now Pierre Gasly has essentially pushed him out of his spot on the team.
Yeah.
That Esteban's been at that team for a long time, basically since he came back into Formula One. And so now Pierre Gasly kind of gets the last laugh on that one. But man, if they weren't friends before, imagine now they are definitely gonna have some tension in between the two sides of that garage.
Should be some entertaining for
my god,
where we have like 72 more races in the season, so
yeah,
we got plenty of time.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, so I kind of want to touch on the article where you're saying where basically Lawrence Barretto is saying that he is essentially a hot commodity within the F1 world. And, going back, Esteban was partnered with Sergio Perez back in the old Force India days.
Crashed into him a few times.
Yeah, exactly. Multiple times where they couldn't get together or couldn't get along. He had Fernando Alonso as a teammate when he came back. And that was, they had some pretty high profile incidents there as well.
And it's like, I get it. It's Fernando Alonso. Like I do imagine he's kind of a pain in the ass to be a teammate with, but Ocon, your reputation precedes you as someone that is quite willing to just butt heads and not get along.
Yeah, that looking back at that, that was not a good pairing because both of those are not good team players.
No.
So you got Alonso and Esteban on the same team.
Yeah,
Man,
that was yeah. So I don't know. They're saying that he's a hot commodity for Sauber, and I was looking. It says Sauber / Audi, Saudi, Sauber and Haas I've been trying to get Ocon to come over for several months now, is what this article says. Which maybe that's true, but I feel like there's quite a few other drivers on the grid and drivers in the wings that I would take over Ocon.
yeah. So yeah, I think the two main questions here are where does he go and who replaces him. So, you know what you're just saying. I think those are probably the two main contenders for him to go to would be Sauber and Haas. I don't know about the whole Sauber / Audi move.
Yeah.
I could see him going to Haas. I know there was rumors we spoke about on the last one where he was having conversations there. K-Mag's not in a good place, you know, with Komatsu, the new team sergeant or team principal over there. And I think that would be a good place for him to go. You know, it's a slide down by all means, but they also want somebody there, you know, that's kind of going to have that experience that can kind of help, what's his name? Ollie Behrman.
Yep.
And kind of take him under his wing. I think that might be a good fit for him.
I don't know. I think I would. There's quite a few drivers. I mean, how many drivers do we have that are going to be shaking up the field? If I'm Haas and I'm looking at K-Mag or Ocon, while K-Mag is kind of frustratingly not doing well right now, I don't know that I'm trading him for Ocon.
All right.
And you say, you know, a driver with experience to take Ollie under his wing. We've just talked about what not a team player Ocon is. Like, I don't know. I think you take the evil you know over the evil you don't.
True. That's true. All right. So if you're Komatsu, you basically are looking at keeping K-Mag, going with Esteban Ocon, or potentially like a Valtteri Bottas.
You got a Bottas in the wings. You've got, I mean, I don't think Sainz will go to Haas, but there's enough in, you know, not to mention just the drivers' academies in general. You have quite a few reserve drivers who need a chance. It's like, it wouldn't be the first time Haas had two rookies in the car.
Right. Well, the last time,
not saying that's the route they should go, but it did not. Not saying that's the route they should go, but I don't know if I'm going for Ocon.
Yeah. He's, like I said, his reputation has been tarnished. He's just a poor attitude, I think, you know, especially when it comes to playing nice with other people. So I don't know. I wouldn't want him on my team.
I don't think I would either. Let's talk about Alpine though. I think we make a lot of fun of Alpine around here because, you know, it's easy to do. That team's got a hell of a storied history. They have their own engine, their own, you know, they're not a works team for anybody. And they've got new management. They're shaking things up. It's kind of like Sauber right now, where it's for a couple of drivers. I can see it being a seat they want to move to.
Yeah. And so that begs the next question. Who's going to replace him? I think that for one, Pierre Gasly is going to be content with not going anywhere now that Esteban's gone. He is solidly going to be the number one driver at that team. It's a French team. Good to go. He's not going anywhere. So who do you replace him with? Do you go with experience or do you go with, you know, kind of a potential up and comer?
You have Jack Doohan sitting in the wings as your reserve driver. And this article said, it brought up a really good point. Alpine is really keen to prove that their driver's academy is a worthwhile investment for drivers. So it does make sense to me from the overarching point of view to bring up your driver academy reserve driver and show that he's a good driver and give some stock to would-be racers that are trying to get into one of the F1 Academy teams and say, hey, Alpine's got a pretty good setup going on. That makes sense to me to bring him up.
Yeah, I think so too. And kind of their reserve driver or their Alpine Academy kind of has a tarnish on it right now because of how they handled
Piastri.
Oscar Piastri and that whole debacle that went down. So I think, honestly, looking at all the different candidates, I know there's been rumors of Bruno Famin having conversations with Mick Schumacher as well. I think the Jack Doohan, that one makes sense to me. He's their reserve driver. He's a good driver. Like you said, they want to prove that their academy is good. He's a former Red Bull Academy driver as well. So, I mean, I think that one makes the most sense. I would see him going to that seat for sure.
And he's cheap. No offense.
He's cheap. Yeah.
But I mean, that is something that a lot of these teams have to, I can see why Haas wants Ocon. I think Ocon's current salary is like $2 million. It's not very high compared to the rest of the field. And so I can see, Bottas is not that cheap, but Bottas brings 10 race wins on merit and a lot of other good stuff and experience. And so it makes sense to me to bring up Jack. Not that expensive, good for the business, and see where it goes.
For sure. And I mean, he hasn't been in F2. His last year in F2, I think, was 2023. He stopped doing that. Not because he won or anything. He just stopped.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that'd be good. Speaking of Bottas, have you seen what he did, his accomplishment over the weekend?
No, I don't think so.
Bottas competed in a 100-mile gravel bike race in Kansas and came in P2 in the 30 to 39-year-old age group and was standing up there on the podium. Haven't seen him on the podium in a long time. There's pictures of him standing on the podium in Kansas. He finished the race.
That's so awesome. Good champagne spray, mullet flying.
His face was like covered in mud. But that's his thing. That's his main, I think his main effort right now is bicycle racing.
That's what's so funny. Like I've read a lot of articles talking about all the teams that want Bottas, which I'm sure they do. Does Bottas want to keep racing is kind of my big question, because he seems to not care one iota.
No, not at all. I think he's got enough where he's happy. If he gets another seat, I think he'll be happy. If not, there's just more time to ride his bike. So,
yeah, I don't. But I see if he's going to move, I see him going to Williams more than anything. It's where he started. James Vowles has some awesome stuff going on over there. I could totally see him going to Williams and being happy about it.
Yeah, for sure. Man, all right. So from that, what about this FIA president, Mohammed bin Sulayem, that came out, who apparently before was on the side of Andretti coming in as an 11th team and now has swapped sides apparently.
I don't know that he swapped sides. I think this is being taken out of context.
Okay, what's your take on this?
I dug into it a little bit more, and it seemed to be that in an off interview, like while he was walking, he was like, they could also just look at buying a team, which he's right. They could. Andretti could look at just purchasing a team. That is an option, but they seem hell bent on being the 11th one. But I don't know why it's gotten the amount of flack that it has. It seemed to be like he was just laying out another option. They could just buy a team to come in. They're going these legal routes. They're spending all this money on trying to get in as an 11th team. They could probably just buy one. And it's like, you're not wrong. Like, I think the argument is, why does Andretti want to be the 11th team as opposed to purchasing a team?
I just love it because it's just like we talked about before. It's just the American way. It's like, you don't want me in, I'm going to force my way in any way possible. And I love it. And now that they're, going with, you got the U.S. Congress, you got bipartisan people on both sides of the table that are supporting you. Who's the main guy in charge of that effort? Is it Jim? Man,
it was John James.
John James? Is that right? That doesn't sound
from
right.
Michigan.
Okay, so you got the John James or whatever representative from Michigan, who I didn't know is actually a huge Formula One fan. And so, I mean, that's the perfect person to have on your side on this. Yeah. So I don't know. I understand where he's like, hey, it'd be easier just to buy another team. But I mean, who are you going to buy? Haas just sold their NASCAR, or is selling their NASCAR team. So now they're not.
Everyone's for sale anymore. For the right price.
I know, that's the thing. Andretti just spent all this money opening this global headquarters outside of Silverstone. And so if they buy another team, they're going to do what? Essentially purchase all the facilities and everything, not even use them, probably fire all the staff, hire some of them, keep on. I don't know.
I think Andretti wants his name on the car. Like the only team that you have a real option at purchasing and changing the name of realistically is Haas. Nobody wants you to change Williams' name. That's one of the OGs. Yeah. Don't touch that name. Sauber is already spoken for Audi. Renault, there's not really another team on the field that you could purchase and slap your name on it except for Haas.
And I think Gene Haas is just loving it because he's seeing all this. He's like, I can name my own price at this point.
Yeah.
And we're talking hundreds of millions, maybe even a B on the end of that. I don't know. So I don't know.
But
I'm
I
excited
like
for
that
them to come
Andretti
in.
wants to be 11. I want them to be the 11th team. I want
Yes.
there to be 2 more seats available. Look at all the drivers we have available right now. Like,
Yeah, I think honestly that's probably the best way, in my opinion, because I think we should have 12 teams. Honestly, that would be cool.
I'm so down for 12 teams. And I think that like there's a total argument because look at all of the drivers that are getting up there in age and have no plans for retiring, because in these cars you can do that. Like, and with the amount of nutrition and health and everything, you can have older drivers. So we don't have the turnover we did 20 years ago to allow the new blood in. So it's like, let's open the field up to get some new blood in there and let them start having the chance to be great, while Alonso and Lewis and Kimmy and all these guys into their 40s are still racing.
Yeah. You know, one theory that I heard proposed, which I actually think would be kind of cool, is how European soccer team does relegation. Sorry.
What do you mean?
So the soccer league has different tiers. And so there's the top tier, but every team each year competes. If you're one of like the bottom couple teams, you get relegated to a lower level. So if like you come in P10 in the Constructors Championship, then you would basically not be allowed to compete in the championship next year. But I don't know where they would go to, but
There's
would be
too much money in development to be able to do
Yeah.
that. But that's interesting. Like, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of having more teams on the grid, especially if Andretti's going to put a bald eagle on the roll pin airbox up top, which is red, white, and blue going down. Yes, please. Every race is going to be like the Miami race. He's going to have LL Cool J traveling with them, announcing. It'll be ridiculous.
I said it before, man. They're going to get in and just be the bad boys of F1, and I am totally here for it.
He's going to drive up on a Harley and just
bring back the Umbrella Girls just for that one team.
Everyone's going to want to be on that team.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
I think that's all the news right now. I'm excited for the Canada Grand Prix. It's always a good race.
That is going to be a good one, I think. And from what I understand, it's looking like it's going to be rainy weekend. So I think things might get shaken up a little bit. Last 4 races, we've had 4 different race winners, which is the first time we could say that. And I don't even know when the last time that happened was. So it's anybody's game this weekend.
I mean, it's been either Mercedes or Red Bull dominance for the past, 14 years, 15 years?
Something like that, yeah. I'm excited to see you squirm on your predictions this week because I don't think
I'm already in my head like, crap, who do I go with?
Gone are the days of the automatic Max Verstappen pole in P1. So
yeah, we both got to up our game. We both got 0 right last weekend.
Man, all right. Well, we like you said, heading into the Canadian Grand Prix weekend. So we'll be back in a couple of days with our predictions for that one. Man, if you like this podcast, make sure to leave us a rating and a review. Share it with a friend if you can. Follow us on YouTube now, Formula America Podcast. Also Instagram, Formula_America. And I think that might be it for this one, Dylan. You got anything else?
That's it.
All right. Well, on that note,
stay classy, America.
We'll see you next time.